Hello, morning. My name is Steve. Today I'm going to show you how you can do some simple validation using C# in console app. First, let me show you the program and then I'll show you the problem with this program. Basically, this program will allow user to key in the student name, the course name, and also the course score. The system will automatically calculate the course grade based on the course score. So for example, the student name is John and the course name is Web Design. Course score 75, and after you press enter, the system will calculate the course grade based on course score. At the same time, it will print out all the input. Okay, so we have student name John, course name Web Design, course score 75, and the course grade is A. Now let's take a look of some of the problem of this program. We try to key in the same input again. Let's say we change it to someone else, Mike, and the course name is still Web Design. What happens if the user key in not a number over here? For example, the user accidentally key in A instead of an integer. As you can see, the program will break with some arrow here, some exception. So what's the problem with this program? Let's close this program and take a look of our code here. Here I have a student class. This student class will have some properties. For convenience sake, I'll put the method to calculate the grade over here. There isn't any layers, and as well as the method to print the details. Okay, if you take a look at the program, currently I am using console.readLine to get the input from the user, and then I'll convert it into integer. You can use convert to int or int.parsed. So what happens when the user key in not integer? You will fail to convert into integer with an handle exception. So what can we do to solve this issue? One way to solve this issue is by creating another method. Probably you can create another method here to just check that particular input, and this method will pass in the result, if it is successful, back to where it calls this method. So for example, over here what we need is an integer, so we have a method here to return integer, and then here we say get score, get course score. And instead of having the console.readLine over here, we can move this console.readLine to a method so that we can do a bit of checking over here. Okay, one way is that we can create a boolean. Let's say we call this boolean is course score valid. I'll set this to false, initialize this to false first, and then we can use this boolean equals to int dot TryParse. What this TryParse will do is this TryParse will basically accept two arguments. The first argument is the input, what you want to try to pass, and the second input basically is if this input successfully passed to this data type, over here is integer, the output will be stored in here. For example, we can say int output. Okay, so we no longer need this, and then we can return the output. Now let's try to call this method in the UI. Student dot get score, and run the program. Mike web design and A. Of course, now it won't give you the unhandled exception like previously in the previous code, but the problem is that it doesn't really ask user to enter the correct score. If the input is incorrect, it just gives you a 0 for your course score, and you continue the program. How can we ask the user to key in the score again? To make user key in the input again, we can use a while loop over here. We can write while is course score valid is equals to false, then we prompt user to key in again. Prompt user to key in the input again. Okay, and then over here we can also add the error message. If is course score is valid is equals to false, write an error message here, say enter only numbers. Then we put a console.read key here just to pause the program so that user can see this error message. And after user see this error message, user can press any key to continue the program. And when you loop this input to ask user to key in the input again, we should move this message as well. Move this console.writeLine to the while loop, inside the while loop. Okay, and then as you can see over here, there is an error message. The error message means the declaration of your variable is at the wrong place, because when you return it, there isn't anything declared before the while loop. So what we can do is that we can move the declaration outside the while loop, and then we remove this declaration inside the while loop. Now the next thing we can do is that we can test it. Just run the program. Mike web design, let's say we enter, let's say B, Here we get an error message, enter only numbers, and if you press any key, it will prompt you again, enter score. Now if you enter, let's say 56, you get to print out the student details. Okay, and let's run the program again to see if there is any other error. John, web design, and the course score. Happen if I key in the course score is 105. We know that the course score is from 0 to 100, but user accidentally input 105. What happened? You see, we get the course grade equals to C because we put everything else. So this is another bug that we have to solve. To solve this bug, of course, we can do the additional if statement here just to make it more accurate. If the score is from 0 to 49, then it returns C. But another way to solve this issue is that before it comes into this method, we can do some extra validation. Over here, when you get the score, we make sure that it is the correct data type. The data type that we want to allow is integer. After the data type validation, we can also add the extra checking inside the while loop. So in this else scope, it means what? The else scope means that the user have entered the correct data type. It means that the data type is the allowed data type, which is the integer. The extra checking that we can do over here is just to make sure that the course score is from 0 to 100. So I'll put there if output is more than or equals to 0 and output is less than or equals to 100, then it is the correct data type, correct range. Else it means that this output, this course score is out of this range. So what we can do is that we can set this is course score valid to false. Okay, we can set this to false if it is out of the range. Okay, in other words, we can say if course score, let's say we don't want this to be put into else, otherwise this will be meaningless. We can remove this and we say if the output is less than 0, it's a negate, or output is more than 100 is course score, we reset it from true. When it comes to else, this is course score valid is true, but the extra checking is if this output is less than 0 or output is more than 100, it will be reset to false so that you can loop again. Okay, before you loop again, it's always important to interact with the user. A good program always talk to the user. So we say enter number from 0 to 100 only. Okay, now let's try to run the program. Tor web design course score 106. Enter number from 0 to 1 only. Now we enter 82. Alright, we get it. So we can use the same way to validate for other input. Let's say, for example, enter the course name, enter the student name. But the thing about this enter name, student name, and enter course score is this course score is a string data type as well as the student name. Validation with a string and validation for an integer data type is a bit different, because for a string is we don't really have a TryParse for string. So what we can do is that to validate string, we can use a regular expression. What is a regular expression? A regular expression is used to check if a string matches a pattern or not. A regular expression usually used to check a very complex pattern, for example, email, NRIC, and probably the date of birth, and so on. Sometimes regular expression is known as regex, R-E-G-E-X. So what I'll do next is that I'll create a method, another method, just to validate the student name. Public. This method will return a string if it is successful. So I'll say get name. So we can use back this block of code if you want to speed up. Is name valid? So I'll just replace all this. Okay. As I mentioned, for string, we can't use a TryParse over here. So instead, we should use a regular expression. To use a regular expression, we can start by creating a variable here. Let's say we call this string pattern. Basically, this is the regular expression pattern. So in this regular expression, we have many symbols which represent different things. For example, this symbol means at the beginning of the line, and there's another symbol, the dollar sign, means at the end of the line. So we want to validate all the character from the beginning until the end. We want to make sure that all the character from the beginning and the end is in the allow pattern. So what pattern that we want? The pattern we want is we basically want any letters from A to Z, small letter A to small letter Z. We also want to allow any letter, capital letter, from A to Z as well. This is what we're going to allow. After that, we also want to allow more than one character. So over here we can use the asterisk so that we can allow more than one character, which is a letter from the beginning till the end, only small letter A or capital letter from A to Z. Okay, so then we replace this int TryParse. Okay, this one we don't really need it. We can put here Regex. Yes, alternate enter. Okay, regular expression is under system.text.regular expressions. You use the method is match to do the checking. Over here you can see the string input. For the string input, we can put console.readline. Okay, the string pattern we have already defined here. Pattern. Okay, if the input match with the allow regular expression pattern, it will return a true, otherwise it will return a false. Right, there are a few more things we have to change over here. Instead of putting the console.readline inside the regex, we should put it in here and assign the console.readline to outputs. We should change this output to string data type, and then we only put this output variable inside the regex. So the reason being is we want to get this output later on. Okay, as we successfully match the regular expression pattern, we want to return the output, what the user key in, back to where the caller, where the program calls this method. Okay, we can change this error message to enter only letters. Okay, enter only letters, and then we can remove this console.write because we have already console.write inside the while loop. And then we should change this console.readline. Since we already moved this console.readline in the while loop inside the method, we can now just call that method student.getName. Let's run the program. Let's key in something, a digit 1 2 3, enter only letters. Now if I key in letters, it is successful. Where design cost score 74. Yes, it works. If you want to ensure that the user entered at least one letter, we should change this asterisk over here to plus, because if you run the program without any enter name, without anything, let's say I press enter, it passed the validation. So obviously we don't really want user to just have a space over here. We can change this formula to plus instead of an asterisk. Now if you press enter, say enter only letters, and you can change the error message here, enter only letters and at least one letter. Okay, now next problem is let's say for example user key in a space here, John Wong. Will not pass the validation because it doesn't really allow a space. So to allow a space, we can add another formula behind /x20. So this is an ASCII code to allow space. Now run again. John Wong. Yes, it passed the validation. And that's it. Basically, you can use regular expression to do a lot of validation. You can also use regular expression to validate numbers, alphanumeric. You can even use regular expression to validate the length of the input. For example, if you want the student name allowed length is only 20 or 30, we can also set that. We can set that over here. Say for example, we want to only have a maximum of 15 character. You can use that. This is all for some simple validation using C#. In future, we will cover some complex validation using different technique. Happy coding and have a good day.